And now we move on to dark.
Okay. I have got mono. Um
Mm-hmm.
You got what?
yeah.
Mono?
I
Damn.
got I got mono, dude. No. Um yeah, what is it? What is the full title of this? Is it just I don't think it's just mono. It's like mono. Here see, it's
Pretty sure it's
something.
just mono.
Yeah, either way.
Oh, yeah, it is just mono.
Yeah, I think it's like mono weekend anime. It says like weekend animation or something in the title or some shit. I don't know why. I don't know what that means, but either way, yeah, so this is a series about girls in a club that do stuff and they got big eyebrows. If you the closer you are to a main character, the bigger your eyebrows. Um, and yeah, this opens up with our main characters, I guess you could say. The two mains, really, which is Amamiya Satsuki and Kiriyama An. And Amamiya Satsuki winds up joining a photography club because she really didn't know what she wanted to do in high school until she saw a third year Makinohara taking photos. And she got really into photography, but she wound up doing what do you call it? Like cell phone photography, like photography with off of a smartphone and like contests based on that. Became pretty successful. And the anime kind of like flash forwards like immediately to what do you call it? Graduation for Makinohara and sort of the fallout, you could say, in Satsuki's life after that, which is just like, playful depression as Makinohara is like is basically being treated as like her muse prior to that. And that was like what she had primarily taken pictures of was Makinohara doing things or taking pictures of other things. And she wound up winning contests by even doing that. And so it's a lot of like the first episode is like somewhat of kind of finding a new passion, but the sort of call to action is that since their third years graduated, it was just Kiriyama An and Satsuki as the only two members, and they're going to be dissolved if they can't find two new members, right? And so in this, they wind up happening upon a small like candy store when just like kind of going around and trying to build up like new stuff uh, for the club. And they wind up winning. One of them winds up winning a camera, which is one of those like the camera in the cover art. It's like a 360 shooting camera for like what would you call it? For like it could do like VR shots and stuff like that, and like Google Maps style like three like panoramic like 360 photos.
Mm-hmm.
And so they start getting into a little bit more like unconventional photography in that sense of doing shots like that, doing time lapses with it. But the main thing is that in winning this camera, they wind up meeting the gray-haired girl with glasses, Haruno Akiyama, who is a sort of like meta character in that she's a manga artist that's trying to do a 4 and she's been ordered to do something with like basically like girls in a club, and she winds up
Mm-hmm.
basing it on this photography club. And they kind of like help each other with ideas and sort of both, she'll help them with photography ideas and they help her obviously get material for her 4
Mm-hmm.
and it kind of goes from there with Haruno being a sort of like, what would you call it? Not like almost like a catalyst in a way. Whether like it be her needing stuff for her 4 so they wind up like going to certain locations, um, or taking pictures of specific things. And Then, like, long story short, they wind up combining with the cinematography club, which only
Yeah,
has like
yeah,
two
yeah, yeah.
members. One is a phantom member, and that gets into more of the unconventional sort of combination between cinematography and photography that they're trying to do. So it's a lot of photography
Mhm.
trivia, and some cinematography trivia and some camera trivia on top of
Yeah.
all of that.
So
Um,
can I ask a little bit of a question? So it's like there is a lot of photography trivia, but is it focused around the act of photography more, or is it more focused on the girls going around doing scenic journeys and like
Let me
tricks?
interject here real
It's a
quick.
little bit of both. This is basically a lot of this is basically because this is the Eurocamp author, if you haven't noticed,
Yes,
and
yes,
like
yes.
mangaka, and so this is kind of Eurocamp, but just like with a camera
Let me ask you,
and
Arthur,
camera
I was gonna
trivia.
bring that up later.
is the camera cursed in any way? Did they pick
No,
up
the
a camera
camera, they do
obscura?
not pick
Oh,
up a
Oh, the
cursed
camera's not
camera, but
good.
they
it's
do
not a
go
camera
they do
obscura?
get an idea
Lame,
where they wind up
lame.
going to locations that are supposed to be cursed
Good.
in one of the
All
bits.
right, I'll take that.
But yeah,
Yeah,
so
I was gonna
it
mention the
is
Eurocamp thing later, but
there's kind of like a well, it kind of fits into it because it is a bit of like a mashup between like some scenery stuff, some camera stuff, some more like Eurocamp, like just sort of girls in a club doing stuff, fun stuff like that. Um, and then like some minor like four coma type stuff as well. Um, but yeah, it is heavy on the sort of like tying the photography things into the scenery. But
Mhm.
it does take some detours with I don't know the mangaka and her doing stuff personally, which is kind of where it starts to turn a little bit more into like the scenery stuff, like Yuru Camp was. But I do think this differentiates itself at least like well enough, which is nice. And yeah, I mean that's pretty much
Do you
like
think this is a
the difference.
step up or step down from Camp? Just an overall like kind of I want to say let's say just with the manga like story
With
structure.
some
Let's
of
start with the
the
original
I
source.
think with the
Yeah.
story structure of like girls in a club doing stuff, it's a little bit like a step up in that sense. Where it's like if
Okay.
you kind of wanted more of that and a little bit like a little bit more of the characters interacting more so than just like them interacting with the camp stuff and the trivia, then I think this is a
Yeah.
little bit of a step up in that or like a change in that direction. Um, which isn't bad. It's just
Yeah.
that like it's more centered around a specific like thing they're doing for the day or like for a bit with the camera. Like there was a large portion of an episode dedicated to them like hanging the camera on a kite to try and do like sort of like an aerial quote unquote like a drone shot type thing.
Right, right, right.
Whereas like something in I feel like Yuru Camp would be more so of just like, here's the campsite, right? Like it's not really gonna
Mhm.
do all the time be like, here's like the trivia for the episode. Doesn't do a whole especially in the later seasons, doesn't really get into a whole lot of that because you kind of there's only so much like camping stuff you can do. You kind of have to go based on location only at a certain point.
Mhm.
And they do wind up doing that. And that's fun. That's good. I think
Mhm.
some of the other stuff I think just I find a little bit more interesting just because it is camping rather than just and not camping. It's not camping. It's like photography, and I think that's pretty enjoyable to me because I kind of prefer. I mean, I prefer that sort of trivia more than camping just because I did do some photography when I was in college, so I kind of do enjoy seeing
Did
some
you
of
have a
that.
cursed camera?
No, I did not have a Curse camera,
Would you
unfortunately.
consider what's it? Man, it's been so long. What are they called again? Disposable. Would you consider a disposable camera a cursed camera?
It depends on what it's taking pictures
No.
of.
Yeah, true. Like,
But yeah, so
Uh,
do you think
uh,
a disposable camera would work in Fatal Frame? I'm basically thinking
no.
Fatal Frame right now.
no, doesn't
I'm
Fatal
comparing
Frame
this
need the
season.
camera obscured?
Yeah, but
I guess in that sense, these not being disposable cameras, these being more important cameras, is a bit more up that
Anyways,
alley.
so my kind of I think the Eurocamp thing is important because I was how do I say this? This season, I mean, it's been a great season overall for anime lovers, but for listeners of this podcast might know that this season I got caught up in two cute girls going around in groups doing journeys around Japan, sightseeing and stuff like that. Two of them in a row that I consider to be not that great, right? One was Zatsutabi, that's Journey, and the other one was a Hibimeshi, right? And both, in my opinion, were very mediocre, like flops. And um,
I'll tell you what.
thematically and even structurally, Mono is very close to this, right?
Yeah,
Like
you
you say.
might
But
think I
yeah,
was afraid, but
yeah,
this
yeah,
kind of has the
exactly.
secret sauce. And I
Yeah,
think
it's
some
like
of
what
that
what I
has
was
to do
trying to
with
think actually.
the very
Yeah, I
cozy
was trying to
pacing. Like it's a very
yeah, I
good
was trying to
balance
think
between
of like
everything.
why exactly because it's like actually like my thought is like the pacing itself is relatively similar at the end of the day because it's like slow, right? But I was thinking like one of the problems I had because I was actually comparing when I was doing my reviews, I was actually comparing Satsutabi and like Kibimeshi explicitly to something like Yuru Camp, right? And this was before I remembered that Mono was in this season. And so one of the things that I explicitly pointed out, the difference between something like Yuru Camp and this, and Hibimeshi, for example, right, which was the better of the two. So me making a little bit of better comparison, but it was like one, the character designs are better, right? Like just straight
Yeah,
up, because Mono, like the character designs like in a series where you're like, I'm watching cute anime girls. The cute anime girls need to be cute. They need to be not nondescript. They need to be descript, right? There need to be
yeah,
something where otakus go, I want to buy figurines of this shit, and not just be like, oh, it's just anime girl. um,
yeah,
I think that I think that's one thing, and the other thing is that um, this author does a very good job of. This might be kind of related to the pacing, but it's like it does a very good job. It's someone like it's similar to what the Yuri author does, where they give these characters these sort of initial personalities, and then they do a very good job of like bouncing them off each other and creating this like dialogue and like back and forth kind of like screen time. Whereas in Hibimeshi and Zatsutabi, it's not like that. The characters kind of start falling flat. So much of the screen time, so much of the story, quote unquote, has to be just carried by these panoramic, like kind of panning scenes of thing Japan. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
Mono and Eurocap are not like that.
yeah. I mean, Mono and Eurocamp still do obviously have the very like thing
Yeah,
Japan
like
aspect of,
sightseeing, like
they'll
yeah,
do
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
they'll do the sightseeing and it'll be like, yeah, we're going to the most important fucking site in the planet, Mount Fuji, obviously.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but like, yeah, I don't know. It's like this just kind of has like
It's a
the
magical mix.
juice.
It's a very good mix.
Yeah, yeah, and like I said, like it strikes a really good balance and yeah, the character designs are really fun. The style changes. I guess I can get into audiovisuals here too. This is from Studio Inspire. You might know the history of them a little bit more. I probably could have
Mhm.
looked it up on ANN and gotten something, but I didn't for reasons. Um, but it's Studio. How would you say this?
Sign?
Soin,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So this seems to
Yeah.
be their
Fun.
first like full production, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And
Uh,
they're doing kind of a killer job. Um,
yeah, I don't know who they pulled in properly, but
they
I
they
mean, for this, I do
spun they
know, but
spun
it's like, yeah.
out. I mean, it was spun up by Aniplex. I just don't know
Mhm.
what like who got like pulled from where because it.
This is actually the first full director role that this director is
Yes,
doing.
so
So that's actually really
this director's new, which is kind of crazy because he's only really done episode directing prior to this.
Mhm.
So
I
that's
thought
really
they would
cool.
have brought in the Yuru Camp like people, like
Exactly,
no joke.
right? Yeah, and
Yeah,
they did not. And he's kind of really captured the same vibe very well.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that
yeah,
was kind of
yeah, yeah.
surprising because he's had nothing to
Jesus
do with Yuru
Christ.
Camp, like at all. Um, but yeah, so a lot of that is fun, and I think, and like I said, the audio visuals are really really fun. They're really good too. Not only that, there's a lot of really good cuts. There's a lot of frames where you wouldn't think there would be. There's a lot of really good transitioning between the sort of jokey moe blob like type looking characters
Yeah.
and the and like the normal style, right? Like this could
Yeah.
be like welcome back. Like this is like while I'm watching this, in some sense, I'm feeling a little bit of like welcome back Hitamari sketch, right?
Yeah.
Like they do the same sort of like jokey eye style and everything like that, where it's just like the scratch lines, like the vertical scratch lines. Don't get
Uh-huh.
quite as wide. um, but yeah, there's like a lot of really fun transitions between those. There's a lot of really fun like in shot where like one character will turn into that and like they'll do like sort of a visual gag type thing with that too. There's like one
Mhm.
I'm thinking of where the like the mangaka while they're in the car, like the author, like she gets pumped up and she turns into a much more like cartoony style and like gets a almost like a fire aura around her, stuff like that. And so it's really
Yeah.
snappy with those transitions too, and it adds a lot.
Yeah.
It makes it
I'm
it's
actually
not
okay.
boring.
I'm actually like my mouth is like gapping wide open right now because I literally just searched through um like the character design for the anime, of course, the art directors, the chief animation director, stuff like that. None of these people are associated with Eurocamp. This is actually wild. What
Yeah,
the
which is
fuck?
like
I
insane.
think
Okay.
They
you
like
should
they nailed the
I think you
style there.
should call out or shout out rather. So I haven't watched much of this show. I've watched like 2 episodes so far. Um,
Mhm.
but there's a shot in the ED that's absolutely fucking absurd, animation wise, where it's the cast sort of handing each other um the 3D camera, right? They're handing each other the 3D camera, like passing it
Right,
around,
yeah, yeah.
and
With the selfie stick like thing.
it is a fully animated fisheye lens shot where even like the background is fully animated and it's like absurd. Like it's actually ridiculous.
Yeah, I
Um
don't know. I mean, like it's crazy too because it's like they animated it as well. Like they
yeah.
did not
Yeah.
like this is not like a fisheye filter. Like they animated this
Yeah, of
to
course. Yeah.
be fisheye, which is like,
The thing
oh,
is,
okay.
it's
Like
like
you're
it's like we know
psychotic.
where the money came from because it's like Udocamp money, right? Udocamp literally just still sells like
Yeah.
one of the most merchandise in like Otaku. But it's like there's a difference between you can have all the money in the world. We know what happens when there's like, Bamco just pouring all the money in, stuff like that. We know what can happen, but it's like that doesn't necessarily mean it can really end up just like being an inspiring anime. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it
right.
is really, and with a studio that's much more fresh out of the gate, like so I'm saying,
Is this
a studio,
Soul Eater?
uh
Huh?
huh,
Nice
it's like,
ending. Oh.
it's just like it's very fascinating that they managed to do this with this staff, even if they did
Yeah,
have like a lot of money coming in.
and also to say too, like when they show the shots from this camera as well, it's really impressive. Like during the show, the
Mhm.
fisheye
Yeah.
effect that they use on that they apply to it, the
I mean,
the
even
time
without
lapse was really pretty too when they did
even
that.
shots that aren't just the camera stuff, like just the general use of perspective in this show is really it's quite good. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, there's even
they do a
like
lot of really nice
there's even
shots.
during recruiting the when recruiting the cinematography club girl, they do like a really fun like, letterbox effect too, that they do some gags with. Um, and yeah, I mean, like the show is visually like gorgeous, right? Um,
Mm.
yeah, so like there's no real complaints there. The music is really nice. I didn't look up who's doing the music, but it is very like Yuru Camp esque of how they're like handling it being like a very like cozy, very cozy tracks, a lot of acoustics. And yeah, that's really nice. I'll get into, I guess I'll get, oh, well, yeah, there you go. Hey, guess who the music person is for this?
Who is it?
Think about another series featuring music and some big eyebrows.
Wait,
Big
is he
eyebrows at a time.
really?
Yeah, it's the K-On music. K-On
Jesus
music guy.
Christ.
Yeah, so um but yeah, so like that's really fun. That's really good. The voice cast is absolutely stellar. For
Mhm,
Akiyama Haruno, the mangaka, that is Wade Arena. Um,
mhm. Ah, these
the sort of
names.
like
Jesus
aloof,
Christ.
yeah, the sort of aloof cinematography club girl Sakurako is Hikaru Tono. Um, uh, Kiriyama An, the one who's like in love with the main character Satsuki. The best friend is Kogai. And Amamiya Satsuki is Mikao Haruna, who you may know from, a little role called Pikachu, um, in
It's
uh,
actually
in the new
it's actually
Pokemon
kind of funny though.
evolution. But
They have a couple of a couple of the voice actresses actually have like they have like hidden or not hidden but like sub character roles like in this very same series like
yeah,
unnamed roles.
yeah,
They're also secretly
and,
doing.
and yeah, and so she's doing this. She's also doing Kusaka Kure Satoko from like the main character from Ninja and Assassin. Which is
Mm.
also, we aren't going to be able to get to it, but very fun, very good, and she does a really good job in that too. And where is, yeah, and obviously like, we could keep going down the line. I'm not gonna keep going. It's like a fully stellar cast. The only other one I'll really fucking shout out is Haruno's grandmother being played by Arai Satomi, which like,
Mhm.
the moment you hear her, you know exactly who it is, right?
Yeah, I thought that
Like,
has such a distinct voice. It's kind of
yeah,
silly.
it's I her unlike any other, I don't think I've ever heard. I mean, I don't know, maybe I just have like Kuriko's fucking voice burned into my brain. Um,
No, it's like anybody who hears Kuroko's voice, believe me, they will like be able to recognize that voice for the rest of their lives. It's not even close. It's like
yeah, it's like, oh, okay. Yeah, it's just like immediately, like the moment she opened her
yeah,
mouth, I
yeah,
was like, oh,
exactly.
okay. Like, all right, sick.
But
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, so like that's been awesome too. Obviously, like a lot of their character acting is really good, them bouncing off of each other, their reactions, their um like the bubbly nature of a lot of it. They do an absolute killer job with. Um yeah, so like no real complaints there. Yeah. Trying to think of
Mm.
what else to really touch on.
How strong are they?
You know, I would say the strongest
Pretty
is
standard.
probably
Yeah.
Kako Komada, just because she can ride a motorcycle for a really long time.
Can they
Oh
beat
yeah, I
Mugi in
guess
a
I should
fight?
mention that. I guess I should mention that so obviously, like I said, they do like a lot of the episodic, like like here's the sort of camera oriented adventure for this episode. They're also like this series is also not afraid to remove some of the main characters, like Satsuki and like the first two mains. Like there's an entire section of an episode. I don't know, it's not the whole episode, but there's a very like half of the episode is just Komada Kako and Haruno Akiyama, the mangaka artist, going around on Kako's motorcycle. And it's because she does the like what do they call it? Like a moto vlog where she has like a motorcycle camera like on her
Like
bike
like a
and she
GoPro or like
drive
on her actual
yeah
bike?
no yeah like on well no not yeah it's not like it's like specifically like I forget what model it is and stuff, but it's like a specific like model built for like a sort of motorcycle dash cam type thing
Oh,
for
okay,
like
okay, okay,
recording
okay.
bike
That's
rides and
interesting.
stuff like that, but not quite a not quite a GoPro. um
Hmm.
and yeah, so she was like, yeah, I'm doing like, I'm doing a vlog where I'm just traveling and catching up with old like college acquaintances and seeing what they're up to, because
Hmm.
like I was bored with my job and now I upload that to YouTube. And yeah, they're like not afraid to do stuff like that where it's like, obviously something like that wouldn't really make sense for the other main characters to really be involved with, but they're like,
Hmm.
how do we fit this in? And I like it too because it does like give you that trivia, but it's also not giving you the trivia in a way where the other main characters are, like sit your ass down and listen to me talk to you about this camera, right? Like it's very
Oh,
snappy.
it's not just straight like exposition slash narration, you mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah. It's similar to the Yuru Camp like way where they'll do little graphics, they'll do little head pop ins,
mhm.
stuff like that. But
Right,
it's very
right, right, right,
snappy.
right.
Yeah, but it keeps it very snappy because it's like, Kaka and Haruno having history already and stuff like that, and just kind of being like, yeah, this is my camera that I use now, and I just take it
Mhm.
and drive from place to place. Um,
Right, right, right. They try to keep it
there's
short and then in like bite-sized pieces here and there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess the really interesting thing is like obviously like, there's some trivia that's like sort of like not really like none of it's like super entry level. Like it's very broad, like some of it's very broad concepts, but it's not treating
Mhm.
it like the way Yuru Camp treated camping in a sense. Um
Mhm.
it's not really going through the ropes of like, oh man, you gotta like your camera could be a lot of money and stuff like that. Where like Eurocamp did that, and I think that's fine to do in some series. I think camping especially would probably be the series to do
Mhm.
something like that for. But in this case, it already established like Satsuki and An are members of like the photography club, and Sakurako
Mhm.
was the cinematography club, and Haruno is a mangaka, like a manga artist who I like needed who uses cameras for like references and stuff like that. So it's all characters who are kind of already familiar with cameras, so they don't do a lot of that sort of super entry level trivia, which is
Yeah,
nice
like
because then it
what
kind of
is
like gets
like
right
what how
to
do you take this shot? Yeah, kind of.
yeah,
It's
how
not
do
like
you
that.
yeah, like sometimes well they'll do like, how do you take certain shots, but they won't like at least as so far they're not really getting into the weeds of like setting up like other types of cameras like with their internal settings and like how much do they cost, and oh man, I gotta get like a fucking part-time job to be able to afford my camera
Right,
club
right, right,
thing,
right, right.
stuff like that. So I think that's nice. Nice that that was cut out by the author here. I would assume that's more of a conscious decision, being like, we've already done this in Eurocamp, and camping being more of like sort of that DIY like, lifestyle type thing. I guess that works better in my opinion, or like
Mhm.
survivalist type stuff anyway. Whereas this, this is much more focused on obviously the girls and then them getting those like scenic shots and different and just doing different stuff with the cameras each time. Which is
Mhm.
nice.
Okay.
So yeah. I
I
if do you have any like questions for that? Because I really have much else to say. At least off the
yeah,
top of
I
my head, like
mean
I can't think of much else to cover.
So do you think this gonna get like a second season? What's happening with this?
I
It
have
feels like
no,
because
I
it
mean, I
feels
have
like
no
it's
idea,
supposed
right?
to
Like
be.
it could.
I yeah, because I feel like because Yuru Camp is still selling so much right now. Like in Japan, if you go, it's just like there's so much merch that is still like Yuru Camp stuff, and it's still going strong. And I feel like obviously mono is good. I'm not saying like it's bad or anything like that. It's fine, but I also feel like in a sense, mono is supposed to be a the thing that keeps this sort of engine going, keeps the engine that was Yuru Camp, right?
Yeah, you would
That
think this would be used for that, but yeah, it's like Udocamp's not run out of steam, so
yeah, so it's like it's
maybe
an
like why
interesting
not
position
two?
where I think yeah. It's like they're I feel like the anime and obviously the publishers and related merch makers stuff like that will push for it, but this might be a weird question, but do you think mono will succeed as well as Eurocamp will?
I think maybe in time.
Yeah,
Right
because Eurocamp
now, I
even
feel
when
like people
when
may
we yeah,
have
Eurocamp wasn't that successful at the beginning as well, right? Or did it explode? I don't think it exploded
it
immediately, right? It was
it
pretty popular, but
It caught
I mean
on. It caught on
it
pretty
caught on
early, I
pretty
think.
fast. Yeah,
yeah.
it caught on pretty quick. It's very highly rated. Like to put it this way, like Mall like Unicamp has an 8.27 and like 200,000
Hmm.
users. Whereas like this is like very early on. This is like um this only had what would you how many? Hold on. Well, this only has like I think several thousand and then only has a 4,000 and then only has a 7.65. I'm not gonna read any of the reviews because it'll probably piss me off. But like, so the only problem I could see with this if this wouldn't take off is literally people being up their own ass and not realizing this is the same author and realizing that like,
Yeah.
there is room for like another thing by this person that is like vaguely similar but with like different trivia. And
Yeah,
especially
exactly.
from an anime style, like this is doing like a lot of stuff that Camp did not do. This is doing a lot of really fun stuff too, and visually impressive as well. So like, there is more than enough room, and I think this should be just as popular as Camp by the end of it. Whether it is or not, I guess, is to be seen. I don't see why it wouldn't be and why it shouldn't be, but I do think people are just going to be like, "Oh, this is like the same thing." This is like copying
Yeah,
Yuru
like
Camp, and it's like it's the same. Like there's gonna be people who are that fucking stupid, that are like, this is just too much like it. It's like it's the same author, bro. Like relax.
yeah.
Um, and just like score it down because of that. And it's like, yeah, like sometimes authors write very similar, do very similar mangas.
Yeah. At that point, we might as well say like,
Like Mob
Eurocamp is just
Psycho.
a
I think like
knockoff of
Mob
Yamato
Psycho. I
Sensei
think
or
Mob
something.
Psycho. I'm gonna
Yeah.
lop some points off of it because like One Punch Man's strong too, and he's like the one guy, and like Mob Psycho is also
Yeah.
like Mob is really strong, and he's like the one really powerful guy. So, but
Or it's like we have all these like recent what is it, golfing series, right? We had like the birdie series, and then after that we had like Soraido Utility, I believe that was the name, right? It's like, why do we need a second golfing with girls series? It's like we could just have the one, right, for the rest of the time. It's like, well,
like no,
if it's
you
good,
could do
it's good.
another. Like you could do
Yeah,
more realistically. Like I
yeah,
mean, at that point, it's like literally just look at this. Like yeah, this is another season of Yudu Camp then, and score it fucking
yeah,
accordingly, right?
yeah,
Um, and I think this deserves like the same sort of praise as Yudu Camp in that I think this author
yeah,
did a really, really good job, and I think the studio, I think Sony is doing an insanely good job. And this is quite the wild showing for a first showing. This is something where it's like, yeah, no, I definitely want to see more from this studio, like more, especially like slice of life type stuff, from this studio in the future. I think this could be the start of something really, really special.
All right. I guess, what rating would you give it?
Um, so I think personally, from what I've seen so far, is I would probably give this like an 8, maybe 8.5 or something like that. I think it's really
Mhm.
strong. I think the audio visuals keep you really engaged. Um, yeah, yeah. I don't think that, and like I said, just scoring it based on my usual stuff. I think that's pretty up there. Maybe, it's one of those things where it's like I think fairly I'll give it like an 8 to an 8.5. I think like, my heart usually just defaults like, yeah, no, it's a 9 because it's not like a 10, but it should be capped out. But yeah, so anywhere between like an 8 and a 9, honestly. This is something I
Okay.
would absolutely recommend that like anyone and everyone check out. Um and especially like if you liked something like Yuru Camp, if you like slice of life,
Yeah, it's
if
definitely a
you
worthy
liked
successor.
yeah, and if
Yeah.
you liked something like Hitamari Sketch, in a way, like I said, just that vibe from the way the art style transitions and as fast as it does, and as frequently as
Mhm.
it does, like kind of just feels that way, with that and like the chicken scratch like eyes and everything, um, just that kind of vibe. Not quite as slow, but
Mhm.
it's almost
Okay.
there. It's that vibe. Very very fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, part of Eurocamp was just, like, it kind of ended up just I wouldn't necessarily say like pure luck or anything like that, but it did have some luck with like when it went viral during that sort of a context. And obviously the character designs were pretty great. But I think Mono, by its own self, does a very good job of kind of keeping up, keeping the flag flying is how I would put it. So
Yeah.
but 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 yeah, thank you very much, Dark. Again, this was Mono, done by I believe the name is Afro, right? Afro is the artist. So Afro
Yes.
is the original artist behind both Mono as well as Yuru Camp or like Back Camp. Obviously, you can see the designs are quite similar, and this game obviously an anime adaptation done by Sony. This their first proper directorial work, or not, sorry, anime production head work, as well as the director's first full directorial debut. And they've done a wonderful job despite having, no consulting, no, I think very little references to the original Eurocamp anime. They did a very good job on this. So if you like
Yeah.
Eurocamp, if you like anything adjacent to it, please do check it out.
Yeah, I guess my only final comment would be I don't know why this is the case. I don't know why it would do this to me, but like even the picture I have up right now, like don't let the cover art scare you, I guess, because
Mm. Mm.
there's something about this cover art that just like this one that
That makes
doesn't
it
sit
look
right with
crazy.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like too much. It's too busy. I'm just kind of looking
Yeah.
at it. I'm
Yeah.
like, is this
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
fucking isekai with a magic camera? Like, I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah. Is she running around? What's
Yeah,
happening?
like
Yeah.
I don't know what this is, but it's freaking me out a little
Yeah.
bit. It's a little too busy. There's a different one you can find. You can find it on Mall. That's kind of like probably a better
Mhm.
one, better showing that I probably should have
Mhm.
used. Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's really funny, but yeah.
Yeah,
This
this one is
cover
so
art,
much better. The other
this cover
it's
art
like
kind of
the
like is
perspective is
way.
weird. Yeah, the perspective is weird, but it's like
It's just like yeah, the perspective is weird, but it's cute. It's funny, and but the main one
yeah,
I'm using
yeah,
right
yeah.
now is kind of like too much going on that it
Yeah, 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 yeah.
kind of feels like a weird throwaway series type vibe cover art. And it's like this is not that.
Yeah.